Since we celebrated during the last week of January. On the 26th of January, we celebrated Saints Timothy and Titus. Both were bishops and they were very close to Apostle Paul. January 27, we celebrated Angela Mary G. She was foundress of the Ursuline Sisters. And not only was Angela an orphan, she also lost her sight. And yet she went on to serve God so diligently and became a foundress of a congregation. 28th of January, Saint Thomas Aquinas. Very interesting story. He was a 13th century theologian and he found ways of showing that the Catholic faith is in harmony with philosophy and other branches of knowledge. An interesting twist in his life. Did you know that St. Thomas Aquinas was kidnapped? Well, he was kidnapped by his own brothers. They kidnapped him from the Dominicans and they took him to the family's castle because they couldn't just understand why he wanted to be consecrated, why he wanted to live a life of celibacy. So they took him to their family's castle and they went as far as sending a woman to seduce him. But he stayed strong to his calling. On the 29th of January, we celebrated Saint Gildas the Wise. He founded a monastery and he was not afraid to publicly rebuke contemporary monarchs. And this was at a time when libel was answered by a sword. You're killed for saying certain things. But I don't think it's very much different with our times. I mean, currently you cannot even practice your faith courageously or publicly. And on the 30th of January, we celebrated Saint Hyacintha of Mariscotti. She was from a very noble home. She joined a convent where she learned to become very penitential in food and clothing. So she let go of materialism and she was ready to do the most humble work in the convent. All right, we had a mega celebration on the 31st of January. That was the feast day of Saint John Bosco, also known as Don Bosco. In the FCT, there was celebration at Church of the Archangels Parish, Kadua, because the priests, the religious who are there, they are actually from that congregation. I can say that St. John Bosco lived an exemplary life for young people. In fact, he was the epitome of being youthful in Christ. He entertained his peers with juggling, acrobatics, magic tricks, etc. And then he will explain a sermon or he will lead his friends in praying the rosary. All right, those were the saints we celebrated during the last week of January. Have yourself a wonderful new month.